गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन। अभी बज रहे हैं सुबह के 6 और मैं अराउंड 5:30 बजे उठ के नहा धो के रेडी हो गया था। और आज कल रात को हमने हो ची मिन शहर एक्सप्लोर किया, दिन का और सब चीज़, रात का भी मार्केट, बुइवियन स्ट्रीट वगैरह वो आपने देख ही लिया। अब आज का हमारा प्लान क्या है? आज का हमारा प्लान है टू गो मेकोंग डेल्टा एंड कोची टनल। So Kochi Tunnel was basically used in the time of war with US and Mekong Delta is a rice field of Vietnam। आज हम ये दोनों चीज़ें एक्सप्लोर करेंगे। दोनों दूर दूर हैं, इसीलिए सुबह से लेके शाम हो जाएगा। एंड वी हैव बुक्ड अ शेयर्ड ग्रुप टूर जो कि अभी 6:30 बजे आएगी हमें पिक करने के लिए, इसलिए इतना जल्दी। ये है हमारा इस होटल का रिसेप्शन, रूबी साइगॉन होटल एंड सूट्स। ये डिस्ट्रिक्ट 1 में ही पूरा है, मतलब जो आपका मेन हर्ट है ऑफ द हो ची मिन सिटी, साइगॉन सिटी, उसके पूरा बीच में है। तो यहाँ पार्टी हब और सब डेस्टिनेशंस टू विजिट सारे पास में है। ये है एड्रेस एंड कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर। तो भी हट गया यहाँ से। सो आप अगर डिस्ट्रिक्ट 1 में रहना है तो आप यहाँ आ सकते हो। सब यहाँ से 200-500 मीटर के बीच में, यानी कि वॉकिंग डिस्टेंस पे। और सुबह के टाइम बज रहा है 6:10 और सुबह के 6:10 भी यहाँ देख रहे हो, सब सुबह हो चुकी है यहाँ पे। ये तो सोते ही नहीं है यार रात को, बुकिंग टूर्स एंड ऑल। और यहाँ एक्चुअली मेनली क्या होता है ना कि टूर्स वगैरह जो है वो सुबह सुबह स्टार्ट हो जाता है। ये भी देखो, इनकेस यू वांट सस्ता है। तो टूर्स वगैरह यहाँ पे क्या है ना कि सुबह सुबह ही स्टार्ट हो जाता है, 6:30-7 बजे से जो भी लंबे टूर रहते हैं। इसीलिए उन सबको ब्रेकफास्ट वगैरह करवाना रहता है सुबह। 6:45 में ये गाड़ी आ गई थी अभी हमें पिक करने के लिए। तो ये रही अभी। लिमोजीन, दिस वन इज लिमोजीन। सुबह सुबह वेट करते करते क्या करते तो कॉफ़ी ले लिया, वो बन ही रहा था कि तब तक आ गई गाड़ी। कोई नहीं, एनीवेज आज का दिन होने वाला है लंबा, सो इट विल टेक टाइम। चाउमीन यहाँ का मेन वो है, मतलब चाउमीन नहीं होता एग्जैक्टली, चाउमीन वाला पार्ट होता है, उसके साथ में और भी चीज़ उसके अंदर होती है मिक्स, पता नहीं क्या है। यहाँ लोग बहुत खाते हैं, मतलब यहाँ का स्ट्रीट फूड मेन वही है। साइगॉन की एक स्पेशल बात ये भी है कि जब यूएस इसको कैप्चर करने का कोशिश कर रहा था एट द टाइम ऑफ द वॉर, तो साइगॉन वाज यूज्ड एज द बेस। और यहाँ पे इन्होंने रिपब्लिक ऑफ वियतनाम के नाम से पार्टी बना के उसको कैप्चर करने की कोशिश की थी, तो वो हो नहीं पाया। दैन मुकी खाई थी तब यूएस ने। तो ये इम्पोर्टेंस है साइगॉन का, हो ची मिन का। तब भी कैपिटल था। और यहाँ सुबह के 6-6:30 बजे से ही शॉप्स वगैरह खुल जाते हैं, लोग आराम से सबसे स्टार्ट कर देते हैं काम करना। ये देखो बाइक पे लोग जा भी रहे हैं, मतलब 7 बजते इट्स लाइक 10 AM इन आवर इंडिया। पीपल आर क्वाइट एक्टिव देयर।
Hải Đăng, but for your convenience, you can call me Desmond. Desmond. Okay. So today we are on a trip to the Củ Chi Tunnel in Mekong Delta. Okay. So now we're on our way to the Củ Chi Tunnel. Yeah. It took us around 2 hours to get there. On our way, we'll stop at a rest stop for you to use the Hampton. Yeah. You know, we get in, we out, we'll feel happy. Yeah, so that's why we call it the happy way. Yeah. So stop at a rest stop, then we'll go to the Gucci Tunnel. Yeah. Okay. Since we depart a little bit early, I'll let you guys rest a little. Yeah. When we get near the rest stop, I'll tell you a bit about Agent Orange, one of the most devastating weapons that the Americans use on Vietnam.
अभी जैसे हमने स्टार्ट किया था जो हमारे गाइड है उनका नाम है टेस्टमैन. ही एक्सप्लेन्ड अस द बेसिक थिंग्स, मतलब हो ची मिन सिटी के बारे में ही बता रहे थे वो भी, क्या क्या चीज़ें हैं, क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है, क्या है, सब मैं आपको अभी बताऊँगा. एंड अभी हम लोग निकल चुके हैं यहाँ से एंड इट विल टेक अराउंड 1.5 आवर्स टू रीच गुची टनल. तो वहाँ जाएंगे, उसके बाद वहाँ पे 1.5 घंटे की एक्टिविटीज़ है, मतलब एक्टिविटीज़ का टनल देखना है जो वॉर में हुआ था यूज़. एंड उसके बाद वहाँ से जाएंगे तो मेकॉन्ग डेल्टा, वहाँ जाने में फिर वहाँ से लग जाएगा 1.5 घंटे का टाइम. चलते हैं अभी. तो अभी हम पहुँच गए हैं लैक्वर फाइन आर्ट्स फैक्ट्री. इस फैक्ट्री की स्पेशल बात यह है कि यहाँ पे पेंटिंग्स बनती है, ठीक है, और पेंटिंग्स बनती है सी शेल्स से और बहुत सारे सी प्रोडक्ट्स से, ठीक है. लेकिन इससे भी ज़्यादा स्पेशल बात यह है कि यहाँ पे जो भी काम करते हैं फैक्ट्री के मेंबर्स, लेबर्स जो भी हैं, दे आर द वंस हु आर अफेक्टेड बाय एजेंट ऑरेंज. एजेंट ऑरेंज इज़ द नेम ऑफ अ केमिकल दैट वाज यूज्ड ड्यूरिंग US वियतनाम वॉर. एंड उसके वजह से आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ पे जो भी आपको दिखेंगे एम्प्लॉयज़ और लेबर्स जो भी अभी काम कर रहे हैं, जैसे कि ये सामने है, ये हैंडीकैप्ड है, ठीक है, थोड़े से स्पेशली एबल्ड है. इन कभी किसी के हाथ में रहता है, किसी के पाँव में रहता है, मतलब डिफॉर्मिटी सब में कुछ ना कुछ है ही. क्योंकि आप खुद सोचो, इतने सारे केमिकल्स जब यूज़ होंगे किसी भी कंट्री पे, तो वहाँ की पूरी सिविलाइजेशन को इफेक्ट पड़ जाता है. तो वहाँ उस टाइम पे जो लोग थे वो तो अफेक्टेड थे ही, उसके बाद में उनके बच्चे और बाकी सारे लोग भी जो भी हुए, दे आर ऑल्सो स्टिल अफेक्टेड. यहाँ आप देखिए बहुत सारे जो भी अभी सामने दिखेंगे आपको काम करते हुए, उनके साथ कुछ ना कुछ है इशू. और यहाँ जो भी हम ख़रीदते हैं उसका 80% इनके हेल्थ और सोशल वेलफेयर में जाता है. वियतनाम के पास इतने पैसे हैं नहीं कि वो खुद सारी चीज़ें कर पाए, और ना ही किसी कंट्री से हेल्प मिली थी ज़्यादा. तो इसी वजह से दीज आर द वेज दैट दे गेट टू अर्न एंड सेव देमसेल्व्स. तो इसीलिए हम भी यहाँ पे आए हैं. एंड मैं भी सोच रहा हूँ कि मैं कुछ ना कुछ लूँगा तो फॉर श्योर. जब इतना घूमने फिरने पे खर्च कर सकते हैं तो एटलीस्ट सोशल कॉज पे तो खर्च कर ही सकते हैं. और वैसे भी दीज पेंटिंग्स आर सो ब्यूटीफुल. तो अभी ये जो लेडी हैं ये हमें पूरा का पूरा स्टेप्स एक्सप्लेन कर रही हैं कि कैसे बनता है सी शेल से पेंटिंग. और सारे ये जो है इसके अंदर सारे हमें टच कर करके फील करवा रही है कि कितना अच्छा है. ये एग सेल से बनता है, ये अलग अलग चीज़ों से बनता है. तो खैर शी इज़ एक्सप्लेनिंग इन हर बेस्ट वे. तो जितना आ रहा है समझ में ठीक है, वरना हमें तो पेंटिंग देखना है और लेना भी है. तो चलते हैं, ऑफिस के लिए कुछ ना कुछ ले ही लेंगे अभी. एंड सी दिस गर्ल, टच करके अभी फील करके बहुत ही वो लग रहा है, मस्त ही वाला. वाओ, व्हाट अ डिटेलिंग. सी दीज आर द एग शेल्स जो कि यूज़ होते हैं इसमें, एंड उसके स्प्रिंकल्स भी.
Can you play the rainbow color like this? So I just send the cell by this one. Then we scroll. Then we roll it out and put by itself. lacquer again. We use the wax sandpaper. The next step we use cork for signing and signing by hand. Signing by hand. Thank you for listening and welcome to our showroom. You can look around if you like our something.
Where can I buy? There. So these are the beautiful artifacts made by hand, and the most 80% part of the cost goes to the handicapped persons who were affected by Agent Orange.
WH question. Yeah. Now, first, when was the tunnels built? There's actually a lot of conflicting records about the exact years of when the tunnel was built. Our official record from the government said it started in 1946. Yeah, 1946. Some other documents get even as late as 1951. Yeah, but after reading and referencing a lot of different documents, I would say that the acceptable year would be 1943. Yeah. So now a bit of background history. If you talk about the Vietnam War, usually when people talk about the Vietnam War, they only think about the Americans war, but the Americans war from 1961 to 1973. Yeah. So, but in Vietnamese history, Vietnamese history book, the Vietnam War is actually also include the war wars with the French colonialists as well. So, like I said, 1858, the French, actually 1856, the French first come here in Da Nang. Yeah, in Da Nang. Fun story about that. So, when the armor ship, French armor ship, come to Da Nang, in Da Nang back then at the port, there's actually 7 mega cannons, very large cannon, yeah, that could actually sink the ship if it's hit. But Vietnamese people, we are very superstitious. Yeah, very superstitious. Yeah. So we have to, back then, you have to pray 7 times at each cannon before you could fire it. Yeah. And if you fire any of the cannons before the prayings was done, you will get executed. Yeah, that's how superstitious people are back then. The thing is, when they finish praying to the 7 cannons, the French armor ship is already in the port behind the cannons. Yeah, so it was very easy for the French. Yeah. So after 1950. 1856, it only took 1856. It only took them 5 years to take over not just the south of Vietnam, but the whole country. Yeah, but the whole country. So back then they choose, like I said, Gia Định as kind of like the capital for Vietnam, which they changed the name into Saigon. Yeah. So, 1856 all the way to 1943, we were colonized by the French. Yeah. So when they lived in 1943 for 2 years, the Japanese they came in 1943 to 1945. Then after our independence on the 2nd of September 1945, we enjoyed 2 years of peace. Yeah. Then the American comes. Yeah. 1941, 1947, all the way to 1973. The thing is, the actual findings, actually the tunnel reflect the history of the war itself. So, 1943, back then to hide against the Japanese, yeah, the tunnels was built, but it wasn't a system of tunnels. It was more of a, cluster that was scattered around in different villages, with the main purpose is to hide troops and hide ammunition and supplies like food and such. Yeah, and food and such. So, but after the Japanese left, I mean we enjoyed 2 years of peace. So, and at first when the Americans come from 1947 all the way to 1960, there was no actual fightings happen. There was no armed conflict because first, American they don't want to suddenly start a war with another country, and second, we're just recover from not just the French but also the Japanese as well. So we don't want to fight. So back then during 46, all the way from 46 to 61, the war is actually more on the political side, where we negotiate a lot of treaties. Yeah, negotiate a lot of treaties. So from 45 to all the way to 61, the tunnel was not needed because there was no war happen. Yeah. Then from 61 to 73, when the armed conflict started to happen, that's when the tunnel was full, was dig at full capacity. In total, Vietnamese people dig 250 kilometers of tunnels, all of it by hand, with shovels made from recycled bomb shells and a bamboo basket. Now, 250 kilometers is actually the numbers that was written on the Guinness World Record. But that numbers only reflect the tunnel that they could actually see, that they could actually map out. This does not take into account part that would destroy or inaccessible at the time. So in total, we dig nearly 400 kilometers and not just 250. And like I said, all of which would dig by hand. All of which would dig by hand using only, like I said, a small shovel made from bomb shells and a bamboo basket. Those only two tools that we use to dig 400 kilometers of tunnels. Yeah. Now, so who was the one that built the tunnel? Yeah. Now, the North. Yeah. Now they say that they will split the country for 10. They will split the country, and in 1960, they will hold an election for people to choose whether they want to follow Ho Chi Minh, or the leaders of the North, or the president of the South. So, in 1961, the CIA actually conduct a survey for that, and the result is that Ho Chi Minh won by a landslide, 80% approval. Yeah. So when 1960 comes, the American government just simply didn't hold the election at all. Yeah, and that incident escalate the war slowly but surely, escalate the war in just 1 year into a full-on armed conflict. Yeah. Now, do you see this trail over here? Yeah. That's, we call this trail the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Yeah. It's a 1200 kilometers trail lead all the way from the north to the south. Yeah, connecting the two regions of Vietnam. Yeah. Now, the central of Vietnam is actually, you see, it's actually very, very narrow, and most of this area is actually taken by mountains. Yeah. So, using that mountain range as covers for the troops, would travel along that. Yeah, to go into the south. And the final destination of the tunnels right here is the Củ Chi area where they dig the tunnel. Yeah. Củ Chi is actually only around 50 kilometers from Ho Chi Minh City. Yeah. Yeah, but due to you know, the road is feel much further than that. Even though the Mekong Delta is actually 100 kilometers from Ho Chi Minh City. Yeah. It took the same time to get to the Mekong Delta and to the Củ Chi tunnel. Yeah. But you know, in terms of military strategies, 50 kilometers is basically next door. Yeah. So the last stop of the Ho Chi Minh Trail is right here. And like I said, 1200 kilometer journeys. Not just people travels on this mountainous range, but also supplies as well. And since you know we travel on mountain, we cannot use truck.
Yeah.
We use bicycle to tow the supplies to the mountain. Yeah, you see this bicycle right here? Yeah, they make this by first they remove the handles. They remove the handle and they also remove the pedals as well. So there's only the frame and the chain connect. Actually not the chains as well, but only in two wheels. Yeah. Then they reinforce it with frame and then put supplies on top of this bicycle. A bicycle like this could actually hold around 200 kilograms of goods. Yeah. And all of it will push onto mountainous terrains by hand. Yeah, by people. Yeah, and people travel 1200 kilometer journey, pushing 200 kilograms of supplies on a bike through mountains. Yeah, it was not an overstatement to say that it's a miracle that we actually won the Vietnam War, the war with the American, judging by how primitive everything is, everything that we done. Yeah, how primitive everything is. Yeah, and as you can see, not just mountain but rivers as well. Yeah, so it was a very treacherous journey. Yeah. So yeah, it was built by the VC troops. Now, how did they build it? Yeah. So, like I said, because we're using you know, shovels. By we dig it by hand. We cannot dig for very far. So, to dig the tunnel, first they will choose two locations, 10 meters across from each other. Then they will dig down to the desired depth, and without any light. Remember, they have to do this at night, pitch black darkness, because during the day is a war zone where bombers constantly bomb the Củ Chi area, so they cannot dig the tunnel during the day. Yeah, they have to dig it during the night. Yeah, so in pitch black darkness, they will dig the tunnel, and they will have to listen to the other guys, they're 10 meters away from them, and they start digging toward the sounds of the other side digging. Yeah. Then when they meet each other, choose another location 10 meters across from each other and repeat the process. Obviously there will be many teams doing this together, but each team could only dig 10 meters. And like I said, would take more than 400 kilometers using this method. Yeah, without any tools, not even a flashlight, because a light could give out our position. Yeah, to the helicopter patrolling above. Yeah. Now, how about the depth of the tunnel? They actually dig the tunnel into 3 different layers. First layer, 1 to 3 meters underneath the ground. This is mainly used for fightings and supplies. Yeah, and also there will be a kitchen. I'll recap this when we go to the tunnel. There's a diagram that shows this better. I'll recap this detail when we get to the tunnel. But there's a kitchen, a special type of kitchen called Hoàng Cặp, named after the soldiers that invented it. Now, back then we don't have gas stove. We have to cook using firewood. And if any one of you have tried cooking using firewood, you know that they leave a lot of smoke. Yeah. And yeah, that will give away our position. I mean, we could dig a new one, but it takes a lot of time, so we would prefer that none of it get destroyed. Yeah. So Hoàng Cặp noticed this, so he started to make a kitchen that have many chambers that could retain the smoke. Yeah, and they make the chimney very close to the ground, so when the smoke comes out, it's gonna look like mist coming out. And because of that design, we have very strict rules for cooking and using fires. You can only cook from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. After that, no cooking or nothing involving fire could be done. Yeah. So that's the first layer. Second layer, if you're stuck in Củ Chi and stuck in the tunnel, this is where you're gonna live. In the second layers, there has been reported that there are schools, hospital, and theaters big enough to hold 100 people, along with a stage inside the third layer, which is 3 to 5 meters underneath the ground. Yeah, like I said, a part of this is that you guys often think that, you know, since this is a tunnel, inside will be very cramped and dingy. No, a room for inhabitant is actually big enough to hold 4 people. Yeah, to hold 4 people. Yeah, lying down and sleeping. Yeah. So it's actually very not spacious, but you know, not as small as people think it is. Yeah. Now, and the third layer, 7 to 12 meters underneath the ground, will be mostly used for emergency exits. Yeah, that have exits leading straight to Saigon rivers. Yeah. Now, when we get to Củ Chi tunnel, if you look at the diagram, you're gonna see 2 things. First, there was a lot of trapdoors that divide the layer together. Now, these trapdoors were actually use honeycombs, honeywax, beeswax and clove to enforce the rim of the trapdoors, so that it's actually watertight and airtight as well. Because the American, one of the most common way that they use to destroy, not just to destroy the tunnel, but to flush it out, is to pump water and tear gas inside. And these trapdoors act because, you know, they are waterproof and airtight. If they pump tear gas inside, we could close down part of the tunnel and isolate that part until all the chemical disperse away. And if they pump water, we could redirect the water back into the Saigon River. Yeah, like I said, you'll see it. I'll recap this when we get to the diagram. Yeah. Now, another thing that you're gonna see a lot is that there's a lot of traps inside the tunnel itself. But you may think, if we're the only one that use the tunnel, why there's trap inside? Now, one misconception about the Củ Chi tunnel is that the areas was the tunnel was a secret. It is not. If you think about it, if the tunnel was a secret, then why is there a war zone right on top of it? Right? Yeah. The tunnel is actually public knowledge to the American government and the southern Vietnamese army. The thing is, they cannot get through, or rather, they're too scared to get inside. Yeah. Now, like I said, the first problem is that they cannot get through, because Vietnamese people back then, most of us have very small statures. Combining with us usually being malnutritious, Vietnamese frame is really small, so the tunnel is really small as well. Yeah. So American with bigger statures struggle to get inside. Yeah. So they start to enlist soldiers with smaller size, and even South Vietnamese army men to get inside the tunnel. And they call this corps the tunnel rats. The tunnel rats. Yeah, right here you can see a tunnel rat holding a pack of explosive in order to try to destroy the tunnel. Yeah, and like the name suggests, tunnel rats. Their job is to go inside the tunnel and map it out. And as you can see, because the tunnel was so small, even for soldiers with smaller statures, they still have to expand the tunnel to get inside. Right here. Yeah. Now, the trap that I said that the trap inside the tunnels will be for the tunnel rats. Yeah. Here you can see that this is a pictures of they rescue one of the soldiers that was stuck in a trap inside a tunnel, and this one almost fell victim to one. Yeah. Now remember this. Actually, most of our traps aren't designed to kill. They're designed to wound you. Yeah, because wounded soldiers take more time to rescue, which is precious time that we need to escape back to the jungle and the tunnel. Yeah. Now, the part of the tunnels that the tunnel rats was extremely inefficient, because the part that they explore are actually the part that we abandoned. Since they discovered it, we abandoned that part of the tunnels, and due to how dark it is inside, they could only see not very far ahead, and even if they do not dare to go very fast, because like I said, the trap here. Yeah, here. After they pump tear gas inside to flush everyone out, yeah, they have to go in like this, and with the mask along with limited light inside, it's very hard to see in front of you. And like I said, they cannot move very fast because they're trapped inside. Yeah. Here's how they move inside the tunnel rats. They have to take a knife and plunge the ground in front of them. Yeah, step by step, to make sure that they won't fall into a trap. And by the time they could discover like a meters of tunnels, we have already blocked up that part and moved somewhere else. So these guys are extremely inefficient, and also lots of casualties as well.